Welcome to Unique, and I am so happy to have our guest that's here today. This is totally a God thing. You talk about unique, we talk about unique personalities, but then God does unique relationships, and we just crossed paths on a God-appointed time and met Justin. Justin is with Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and he's going to tell his story, but yeah, West Plains 1040 Coffee Shop comes in for community prayer, and you have quite a testimony, Justin. Just talk to us. Tell us how this all started in your heart.
Okay. Well, first of all, I believe that God divinely appoints things, and was out doing ministry work, and I had some time to just update and check my social media, and saw a 1040 post about a community prayer meeting, and God just started to prep my heart that that's something that I needed to be a part of, and to be able to support the community of West Plains and to pray for it. And so I decided to go, and who knew that all this would come out of it, and that God would use it just to glorify His name, and just to make some really, really powerful, strong bonds through it.
And yeah, and that's exactly what happened. But just tell your testimony, personal testimony first. Tell how your relationship started with the Lord.
For sure. Grew up in church from a young age, and had a call of ministry from an elder in the church when I was really little. Wow. And I grew up with my dad being a traveling minister, going to different small churches and speaking, and definitely seeing, all that a pastor has to do, and I was like, that's not exactly for me, and so kind of kept that in the back of my mind, and then I went to college and started pursuing a degree in art and coaching, and so I really thought that was my ministry, that was my platform that God had kind of laid out for me, and really got to grow in my faith through working at different camps, and got the privilege to work at Kanakuk camps in Branson, and really got to grow in the things of God. And I spent 8 years as a teacher and a coach at 3 different school districts. Loved it, loved that opportunity, and then toward the end of my 8th year, I really felt God calling me to something different. And didn't know exactly what that was, but I knew I wasn't supposed to be a teacher anymore. And so kind of just started to dwell on that. And all 3 school districts that I was at, I led the FCA huddle, the local huddle within the school. Wow, cool. And just through that connection of being faithful with FCA then, through that relationship with being with FCA, I got to know the FCA area director, and through that mentorship, toward the end of my teaching, he introduced an idea of FCA being moved to West Plains and adding a local chapter down here. And so I didn't know exactly how that was going to play out, but I knew that it would be an awesome opportunity. And as I kind of trusted the Lord and took a step out of faith, that it was just confirmation after confirmation that I was going to be moving forward with FCA, and was a blessing to be put in a position to be an area rep for four counties in this area.
That is so awesome. So you did participate in FCA when you were in school?
Yeah, I was actually an FCA president when I was in high school.
Wow.
And then got to do FCA through college, was a part of that. Then through Kanakuk, all the influence that FCA interplays with that. And then taking over and leading FCA huddles as a teacher.
Isn't it amazing how God sets you up and prepares you, and you have no idea, when you're walking it or in the midst of it, but boy, yeah, He had a plan for you, did He not?
I can look back over my life and it just seems like everything lines up to where I'm at now and walking in the calling that God has called me into, just like that call of full-time ministry that was brought into my life at a young age. This is that calling that I get to live out today.
So when you look back at that, and key people crossing your path, who comes to mind just when you're, as your testimony, but what personal relationships, as far as people that just stand out, that felt like brought encouragement or helping you get on your path?
Probably the biggest one that comes to mind is my pastor growing up.
Cool.
When we were really young, he was our pastor and then decided to take on the youth. And so he kind of did a dual role there.
Wow.
And took the youth underneath his leadership, started a drama team. So very, very involved. And so just getting to grow up underneath his wisdom, and really him taking us underneath his wing and growing us and training us in the things of God, but also my parents being just as involved with the youth at that point in time. Very evident with the kids that have come out of our youth group that are doing things for the Lord, and just an awesome opportunity that I got to grow up in that area in Willow Springs. And then, of course, as I mentioned before, Brian Mitchell, really through that relationship of FCA, just got to become a mentor to me, and got to grow in our faith and in our relationship, and got to have some really deep conversations, but also encouraged me through the difficult times of FCA with starting a huddle with 0 kids and growing it to a healthy FCA that I had in those schools. But he's kind of become a Paul in my life, and just like Paul had a Timothy in his life, he also commanded Timothy to go out mentor others. And so that's kind of where I feel like I'm at today. I've been poured into, and now I'm ready to pour out into other areas.
Boy, that is a picture of the church that's actually working and is actually encouraging. And it actually should encourage pastors how powerful you are and how much influence, and how that echo keeps going. Did you have a strong peer group when you were growing up? A strong Christian peer group?
I realistically think that has molded my life more than I know. I've always had people in my life that were Christians, got to interact with people that were Christians, whether it's through the youth group or through our local FCA huddles. But the biggest turning point in my life was right after college, when I got to move in with 4 guys that had worked at Kanakuk with me. And just through those bonds, it has created lifelong relationships that are still encouraging today, being 10 years removed from college. Guys that I still talk to and still speak into my life, and have kept me out of a lot of wrong decisions, kept me faithful into good decisions, and led me into working for the ministry now. My wife did not get the fortunate opportunity to have powerful relationships in her life that guided her to good decisions, and she sees the importance now of just the relationships that I've had in my life.
Yeah. So you have a wife?
I do.
How long have you been married?
We've been married 6 years.
6 years.
And we've got 2 kids, 2 daughters. I've got a 9-year-old, Adelina, and a 2-year-old named Andolin. They keep me busy, but definitely make me into a better man every single day.
Oh yeah. Kids will show you what's in your heart. There's no doubt about it. So how are you doing balancing all this right now?
One of the biggest things that Brian, my mentor, has told me is not to make your ministry your mistress.
Good words.
Your ministry, your family life is your first ministry.
Good
and
words.
so,
not to make your ministry your mistress. That would have been so helpful to so many of my growing up days, where they plunged themselves into the work of God, not knowing that neglecting their family, would have catastrophic effects, and did, that we've seen. So, yeah, that's awesome that you have that word. So you are figuring it out, or it's a work in progress all the time?
it's definitely a work of progress. It's definitely not an 8 to 4 job.
No.
Putting in 60 hours plus a week.
Wow.
Putting 200 miles on a car, visiting schools, figuring out my own schedule, but I'm working now on just figuring out what my priorities are, where things kind of line up, whether it's, is it ministry driven, is it important, is it not important, or is it just a distraction, and trying to put those priorities into place, and really just trying to do my best to make an impact the way that God wants me to.
That's wisdom from the Lord, I'm hearing, and that's coming through mentorship. And how do you get that direction? How do you know?
The best way, which actually this morning, I drove to Rogersville this morning, and every single Wednesday I get to meet with my area director, and any questions that I have, I get to ask him. I'm also a youth pastor, so get to ask my pastor.
You're also a youth pastor. Wowie. Is that part of the 60 hours? Surely, I hope.
It's not. I do that on the side, but I've been doing that for 2 years now. But it has just provided a way to be able to use my voice and to be able to take on mentoring and relationships, and being able to grow in God, and use my gifts and talents that I get to use today with FCA.
That's wonderful. So when you meet up with kids, like, what's the biggest challenge, or is there a common thread, or like, what is it that you feel like what is the challenge when you're meeting with kids?
I was just having a conversation on my way down here with a local youth pastor, and he said, we've never had more time than we have now, but the more distractions that are allowed to be in play. And I think with social media and just peers and relationships, that there's a lot of things that pull you away from what's really important. And just getting kids to see the importance of their relationship with God, and to grow and to have that accountability, like we were saying with having a group of believers that you can pull together with, and rely on, and strengthen each other and encourage each other, just like our iron sharpens iron.
Yes.
Being able to lead you in the right direction. And I love that that's what our FCA huddle groups get to do within the public school system, is you get to allow those kids to come together, whether it's inside or outside right now at the time that we have, but to know other believers that are in their local schools, and to be able to pull together and help one another through this difficult time.
Yeah. So does it feel like when you're talking to kids that you can totally relate and remember that as a kid, or does it feel like they're facing something different than what you faced as a kid?
I think there's a lot of more difficulties and stress and peers that come into play more than when I was in school. But it's very important that there are people in place that can help guide them, whether it's a youth pastor or a coach. And so my job basically is to minister to coaches and help them know how to interact with their kids, and help have them. Billy Graham once said, a coach will impact more people in a year than most people will in a lifetime. And so if we can reach the heart of the coach, then the number of kids that they interact with on a daily basis, who knows what the impact of that could be.
Yeah, that's good. Well, your path seems very clear, like your mode of operation. of how you do this, it's already established. So it's easy to go in what FCA has already established as far as your point of contacts and what you're trying to achieve in those point of contacts.
Yeah. What I love is through my journey with FCA, I got to see how it is to be done. I got to interact with my area director growing up, knowing what his
Right.
life,
Yeah.
what his life mission is and how he goes about his job and his ministry. And I get to take his wisdom and pull it into what I'm doing down here in this area.
Yeah. So, a unique challenge right now is COVID, and it's kind of blocked some or put some things on hold. Yes, some of the schools you've had issues, not because they're resisting you personally,
Right.
but just because of the virus itself. You've
Yeah.
been separated from.
Yeah, every school's different, what they allow, whether you have to come in with a mask or whether they're not allowing visitors. I work in a really healthy area where a lot of the schools are desiring things of God and are wanting ministry to happen. And
That's
occur.
awesome.
And never more important right now is people just need hope. In any way that I can step into a school and just provide hope and let them know that the only hope that they have is to have a relationship with Jesus.
Yes.
We've had to figure out some different ways to interact with schools, whether it's through Zoom, through social media. We just want to be inside the school system to have an impact and allow God to use us.
That's good. So hope, yeah. Yeah. I know we're at an all-time high with teenage and young adult suicide, just because of what you just said, as far as people just get completely hopeless. And it's all demonic, it's all from the evil one, Satan himself. So, like, what's a word of encouragement, or how do you even start with kids that they can find a starting place with a relationship with Jesus?
I think the biggest point is just realizing that it's all about Jesus, and that you can only find rescue and redemption through relationship with Jesus. So whatever context that you have, that someone that's strong in their relationship with Jesus, just seek them out. Begin to open yourself up. Don't seclude yourself. Don't be in your little bubble. Try to find people to interact with. Our enemy, desires us to be secluded, and to separate ourselves and to stay at home and to be isolated, but controlled by social media and what the image says that we need to be. Seek out people that are going to encourage you, that are going to lift you up, that are going to be positive, but also that are going to speak into your life and to lead you in a direction that points toward Jesus Christ and a strengthening walk with Him.
Yeah, that's good words. So how about we older people? What can we do? Well, for one, your ministry is supported by donations. Is that right?
Yep.
And so we're going to provide you that information so that you'll know how to get on and explain, because there's a specific way. So you're in the areas of Howe County, Oregon County, Shannon County. Tell me the area.
Howe, Shannon, Oregon, and Ozark counties. So I go all the way from Ludi and Gainesville all the way up to Eminence and Winona.
Yeah, that's a big
So
area.
it's about a 110-mile radius that I cover, over 21 schools, plus
21 schools.
Plus the University of West Plains. Which I think that's just an incredible opportunity.
It is a incredible opportunity.
Most of their student athletes come from abroad in other countries, and so just having the opportunity to show them Jesus and hopefully have an impact on them to where they bring it back to where they're from and spread the gospel
That's
worldwide.
That's wonderful. So see, by donating to FCA and just even your region, that's a large area to sow seed into our children, into our youth, teenagers. And when they're doing that, would it just go to athletes? I mean, can other people, like I was not athletic, I was a cheerleader, but they let the cheerleaders participate in FCA. So how does that happen? How do kids get to participate?
Yeah, FCA was started with athletic groups and Major League Baseball teams and Major League Football teams, and so that's kind of where FCA started as an avenue to allow athletes to have a platform to speak ministry. As it's kind of progressed, especially in the school districts, it's for everybody. Everybody can be included. We say all the time, if you feed them, they'll come.
That's right.
I love that FCA allows young high school students to use the platform that they have to minister in their local schools. They can invite kids to FCA huddles, to events,
Wonderful.
And just gives them a platform to be ministers themselves.
Okay, wonderful. So really, if you sow into this, you're just sowing into children, youth, teenagers in, again, Shannon, Oregon, Howe, Ozark, and then you said the MSU campus in West Plains. So what an awesome privilege for me, an opportunity for you to get to be able to reach out to our kids. And we want to hear more, Justin. We're running out of time, but will you be with us next week so I can ask you some more questions?
I would love to.
Okay, well, thanks for coming to Unique, and be blessed.